Hey everybody, and welcome back to the Cowbell Show. My name is Kelly, and here on this channel we kick it, tell stories, and have a good time. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the video. So in today's video, we're going to be talking about this guy that I was talking to in the one semester of college that I attended. But if you're interested in that, then just keep on watching. So many of you guys know that I've been with Garrett for quite some time now, going on 5 years, and we've of course been off and on a few different times because we're young. We're young as hell, and kids are just immature and don't know how to be in relationships. So of course we have broken up a couple of times in our relationship, but when I moved back to Arkansas to start my first semester of college, I'm in Alabama right now, but I moved back to Arkansas because that's where I'm from, and I was gonna start my first semester of college. I was being a full-time waitress. It wasn't my thing. I didn't want to be a waitress anymore, so I called up my mom. I was like, Mom, I'm tired of being a waitress. I'm tired of working full-time. I want to go to school. Like, what can I do? And she hopped on a plane. Like, this is my mom. She hopped on a plane, came and got my butt, and took me all the way back to Arkansas so I could start college. Shout out to my mom. When he moved to Arkansas, we were still together when I moved. And he came back like 2 weeks later, completely unexpected. Like, I thought I was going to be in Arkansas for a semester, take a little break, come back to Alabama to see Garrett. And turns out that did not go as planned. 2 weeks after I moved to Arkansas, Garrett came to Arkansas too and moved in with his stepdad. And I started my very first semester of college. And okay, so fast forward to the first day of college. So it was the very first day. I didn't like, there was like a day where you could go and explore all of your classes, but I didn't go. So my very first actual day, I had no idea what I was doing. And so I was late to like almost all my classes because I didn't know where I was going. And it was time for me to go to my history class. And I was like 30 minutes late because I kept getting lost. I don't know, it wasn't even that big of a campus, but I don't know, I was like 30 minutes late, and I walk in, literally everybody's staring at me because I'm 30 minutes late, and I'm sure the teacher has probably already introduced herself and everything else, and there was literally only one seat left in the whole entire classroom, and it was the seat next to Tim. And this is the story about Tim. Yeah, how ironic. There was only one seat left and it was next to Tim. But that's where it all started. And so I sat next to him, and right off the bat I could tell like he was like kind of looking at me. Like, I pulled out my laptop so I could take notes or something that she had written on the board with like her email and stuff, and she had like sent a syllabus for the class and everything. So I was on my laptop just kind of going through that, and I like caught him like low-key staring at me like in the corner of my eye, because we're sitting right next to each other. We were at, you know, like the rectangular desks with 2 seats, and these were like rode off in the classroom, and we're right in front of the teacher's desk. Literally, it was the very first desk right when you walk in. And so I catch him like kind of like staring at me through the corner of my eye. So I kind of look around, and he looks down, like right when I look at him, like he looks down, and then eventually he's like, "Hey, my name's Tim." That's not his real name. He's like, "Hey, my name's Tim. Like, how are you? Like, so nice to meet you." I'm like, "Nice to meet you too." Like, I have no idea what I'm doing. And blah 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 blah. I was like, this is my first semester of college, and I was incredibly late because I didn't know where I was going. And he was like, oh, that's dope, like I'll show you around after class, you know, like the typical I'll show you around after class type shiz. But anyway, he was like, oh, okay, this is my third year here, I think he said. And it was a community college, so I think you can only like go there for 3 years anyway, unless you were doing like some extended like program, like the nursing program or whatever. But anyway, he was like, I'll show you around after class. And I was like, okay, cool, like how old are you? And at this time I was only 19. I hadn't turned 20 yet. I was 19 years old, and he was 25. He was 25 years old. And he told me that, and I was like, wow, dang, like I would have never guessed that you were 25. He was like, yeah, like is that weird? And I was like, no, like not at all. And he was like, okay, cool, like I'll show you around after class, and that way you won't have to be late to all your classes tomorrow. And I was like, okay, cool. And so we exchanged information and stuff, because I don't know, like I was nervous going into the class anyway, because right when I walked in, I was 30 minutes late. Literally everybody was staring at me, and he was just like super nice. And I was like, okay. And at this point, me and Garrett are still together. Like, we are still together. Like, there's no shade or anything like that. Like, I have a boyfriend. Like, me and Garrett are still together. And so, so he like shows me around after class and everything, and we're walking down the hallway or whatever. I think he is like about to go to lunch, but we're just walking down the hallway like in the school, and he asked me, he was like, so do you have a boyfriend? And I was like, yeah, his name's Garrett. We've been together for like 4 years now. He's the love of my life, blah 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 blah. Just telling him about him and everything. And he was like, okay, cool. Like he was like, he had said something. He was like, I don't even remember what he said, but he was like, oh, okay, like what a shame, you know. And I don't even remember if that's what he said, but I could just tell like he was disappointed, you know. And I was like, is that a problem? Like, you seem really cool, like I don't want this to be a problem. And he was like, no, like I want to be friends, you're really cool too. And I was like, okay, great. And he was like, do you want to go get lunch? And I was like, okay, like I guess there's no harm in that, right? And so he was like, we can go have lunch and I can tell you about the nursing program, because I told him like I was interested in that, and he had actually been in the nursing program and took the test and everything. I guess like didn't pass the test, so he was about to take the test to get into the nursing program again. And so like we were gonna have lunch and talk about that. And so he was like, do you want to just ride with me, or do you want to follow me somewhere? And I was like, no, I can just ride with you, like it's no problem. Where are we going? He was like, oh, I know this sushi place that's like 5 minutes up the road. And I was like, okay, perfect, then you can just bring me back to my car after we're done. And he was like, okay, let's go. Boy takes me to his car, and at this point, I'm kind of like, oh wow, like this is a real man, because he took me to his car and he was driving a Ford Mustang convertible, and not like some 2000 Ford Mustang. Like I'm talking about like, I don't even remember what year it was, but it looked brand spanking new. And I was like, dang, like this is such a nice car. He was like, yeah, thank you so much, it's my dream car, I've been saving up for it for so long. And I was like, yeah, this is so nice, like when did you get it? And he was like, I got it like 6 months ago, and it was just brand spanking new. And I was like fangirling over his car because it was such a nice car. And anyway, so I get in the car, and it's like it's like August, it's like summertime, because it's like the first day of school. But I get in his car and he like pushes some button and the convertible part of the car like comes down, and I was like, oh my gosh, like I've never been inside a brand new Mustang convertible. And so I just kept like totally, I was probably so immature. I was like, oh my gosh, your car is so cool, blah blah blah. And he gives me, I was about to say he gave me the aux cord. There's not even an aux cord on this hoe. He is like, hook up to the Bluetooth, girl, play your music. And I was like, yeah, you know. I'm so dumb. But anyway, he takes me to the sushi place, and little does he know, like, I love sushi, and so I was already excited to go have sushi anyway. But we go to the sushi place and we have lunch, and he was like, during lunch, he was like, you know, I just have to get this off my chest. You are just so beautiful. And right then and there, like, I'm flattered, but at the same time, I'm like really uncomfortable because I feel like I'm doing wrong, you know, like I have Garrett, I love Garrett, and I'm sitting here having sushi with this guy and he just calls me beautiful. And I just really didn't know what to say, so I was like, and I could tell my face was so red. My face just gets red when I get nervous. But he was like, I just have to get this off my chest. You're just so beautiful. And I was like, oh, thank you so much. Like, that's so sweet. Like, whatever. And so we had lunch or whatever, and like we discussed the nursing program, and he brings me back to my car. Yeah, that was our first interaction. Fast forward, a few months go by and we become like pretty good buddies. He's like the only person I know besides like a couple girls I went to high school with that go to this school. And oh, I'm sorry if you heard my tummy, but we're like buddies now. Like, we hang out every single day, we do homework together, and blah 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 blah. And I told Garrett about him, but Garrett knew about him, but Garrett really didn't know how much I was hanging out with him. But he knew we went to school together, and he knew we had a class together. I don't know. I just knew Garrett would have a problem if he knew how much we were hanging out. But we weren't doing anything. We were just hanging out as friends. And a few months go by, and he's like continuing to flirt with me, blah 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 blah. And he's just a really confident person. He was in the military. He got medically discharged for a condition that he had. I'm not going to speak of the condition, but he I don't want to say he was privileged, because he didn't grow up that way. He did explain to me, like, he grew up, his family didn't have a lot of money, blah 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 blah, but once he joined the military, he got all of the benefits of the military. Like, he's going to school for free, he gets a monthly pay or whatever, and he's continuing to get this monthly pay even though he was discharged, because it was for medical reasons. Like, when I say, like, this boy had privileges, he really did. Like, I remember going with him to the school bookstore, and y'all know, if y'all are in college, how much school books are. Like, they are expensive, like hundreds of dollars. And we go in there, and I'm just looking around because I'm not getting anything but one book, because that's all I have the money for. And he's over here picking out these cool pins, and like, I think he gets like a binder or two, and he gets a couple of books, and I'm like, dang, like, you must really got some money, because this stuff is expensive. And he was like, watch this. He goes up to the counter, gives the lady like some ID, I think it was his military ID, and she was like, okay, no charge, prints out a receipt and gives it to him. And I'm like, okay then. And then there I go buying like $150 art book. Good Lord. Like, for an art book? Come on. Anyway, and he was like, if you need anything, just let me know, I got you. And I was like, no, I'm not gonna like take advantage of something that you have. Like, no way. So I bought my book or whatever. And he was like, why did you buy that when I could have easily gotten it for you for free? And I was just like, I don't know, it just feels wrong to me. Like, I just don't want to do that. And he was like, whatever, like, I guess I get that. And so that's what I mean. Like, he impressed me all the time. Not always like with his money, but I felt like because he knew he had money, he was more confident and he had nice things or whatever. But and I have nice things too, but I go to work every single weekend so I can pay for my nice things. I don't get just a free check every single month, you know. But yeah, and so a couple months go by, and my birthday is about to come up, and me and Garrett have been arguing this, that, and the other, because at this point in our relationship, Garrett is just not happy. He's working at a job that he doesn't want to be working at, and because he was so stressed out, he just wasn't being himself. Garrett's not a very affectionate person anyway, but he does things to show me he loves me. Like, if I needed anything built, he would build it for me. Like, if I need anything for my car, he'll get it for me. Like, he's not very like lovey-dovey, touchy-touchy, but he shows his love in different ways. But during this time, like, I was living with my parents. We weren't living together anymore because we lived together for like 10 months before this, and then just completely split up. We weren't living together. We were still seeing each other. I mean, he only lived a city over, but just not as often. We weren't living together. Like, we went from living together and seeing each other every day to only seeing each other like 3 times a week. And it was really getting to our relationship because I was just feeling like he didn't care about me anymore. Like, I only worked 3 days a week, but those 3 days a week, I was working 12 plus hours each day. So even though I was working 3 days a week, I was still working full time. Like, I was still putting my 40 hours in every week. And I was exhausted, but those 3 days were really the only 3 days that I could go stay the night with Garrett, because every other day, Monday through Thursday, I had to get up and go to school super early. But on the weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I would stay the night with him Friday and Saturday usually, and then go home Sunday. But during those days or nights, because it would be the nights when I would get off, I would call him up and be like, hey, I just got off, like, do you want me to come over, blah, blah, blah. He'd be like, yeah, can you pick up some food? Like, I'm really hungry. And I would, like, I'm gonna be honest, I wasn't happy to pick up some food for him. I mean, he knows I just worked 12 hours. He knows I just pulled a 12-hour shift on my feet all day long. I was a server at P.F. Chang's at the time. And I just thought it was so annoying how he knew I just worked all this time, and he is 5 minutes from a Taco Bell, you know, and he's asking me, like, can you pick up some Taco Bell on the way home? And I'm like, sure, whatever. And I would tell him that. I would be like, you know, I work really hard and you're only like 5 minutes away. I mean, I don't mind stopping on the way home and getting it for you, but it would just be nice if I didn't have to. And we would have like arguments about that and stuff, and he would never come over and see my parents, which is not his fault. My parents never liked Garrett since I lost my virginity so young. I lost my virginity at 15 with Garrett, and if you haven't watched that video, it's my very first video. Go check it out. It's really hilarious. But yeah, but anyway, back to Tim. me and Garrett were just having a rough time, and I didn't think we were going to break up, but it ended up happening. And fast forward, it's my birthday, and apparently Garrett had like some surprise party he was planning for me or whatever, but I hadn't seen him all day long, and it was my birthday. And it's like 4 o'clock rolls around, and I'm just in. I remember calling him and being like, you know, it's getting like pretty late in the day. I still haven't seen you. You texted me happy birthday, but we are 20 minutes away from each other. Why haven't I seen you today? He was like, well, I worked this morning, blah, blah, blah. This, that, or the other. Just coming up with excuses I really wasn't fond of hearing. I don't even remember what they were, but it was my birthday, and I was pissed that I hadn't spent any time with him. And so I was literally in the Walmart parking lot bawling my eyes out. I call my dad, and my dad's at work, and I tell him what's going on, and he leaves work and comes and takes me to a Mexican restaurant and like has lunch with me. And this doesn't really have anything to do with the story, but I told my dad what was going on, and I shouldn't have, because from then on he just hated Garrett because he thought Garrett wasn't treating me right. And at the time Garrett wasn't, but me and Garrett being together for 4 years at this point, and this is really the first issue he's heard of me and Garrett having. I don't know, I just shouldn't have told my dad or whatever. We go home, and Garrett calls me, and he's like, hey, what are you doing? And I was like, nothing, I'm just at home. And he was like, well, why don't you come over tonight and have dinner or whatever, I'll make you dinner. I don't even remember if that's what he said. He was like, why don't you come over tonight and just hang out? And supposedly this was the surprise party he had planned for me. And I was like, okay. But he was like, can you pick up some food on the way here? And I was just like, no, I'm not gonna pick up food on the way there. It's my birthday. You should be getting me food today. And I just went off because we had an argument earlier that day, and I was just like, you're just using me at this point. You never come and see me. I always come and see you. I'm done bringing you food. I'm done bringing you this and that, blah, 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 blah. And he was like, you know what? Whatever. I had a surprise party planned for you, and you just ruined it or whatever. This was so long ago, I don't remember what all was said, but I'm just giving you guys the gist. And I was like, you know what? Screw you. I was like, I don't need this. It's my birthday, blah, 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 blah. I can't believe you're doing this to me on my birthday. And he was like, well, you know what? Maybe we should just break up. And I'm like, oh, no, you just did not. Oh, no, you just did not. Not today, buddy. Not today. And he was like, yeah, like, if you truly feel like I don't care, I'm going to show you I don't care. We're done. And so I was just like, I can't believe you're doing this to me, just bawling my eyes out. And I just hung up the phone, and I go and tell my dad, I was like, Garrett just broke up with me. It's my birthday. Like, why is he doing this to me? Blah, 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 blah. And, hold on. Of course, my dad was like, you don't need that son of a bleep, blah, 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 blah. You know how dads are. But a week passes, and me and Garrett have talked or whatever, but we're still like, I'm just like, I can't believe you broke up with me, like, on my birthday. He was like, yeah, Kelly, I don't know what's going on with me, but I can't be with anybody right now. And I really feel like during that time, Garrett was just not okay mentally. Like, he wasn't doing what he wanted to do. He missed living in Alabama. I think he really regretted moving to Arkansas, but I think he just moved to Arkansas because he didn't want to be that far away from me. I don't even know, because it wasn't even the plan for him to move to Arkansas in the first place, and it just happened. But Anyway, like a week goes by, I'm like, I'm sad. Like, I'm very, very sad. This is my boyfriend of 4 years, just broke up with me on my birthday. I'm like, Garrett, please, just like, I want to work this out, blah, 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 blah. Just pretty much begging him, like, please, let's work this out. And he's like, no, Kelly, I just can't. Like, we just need some time apart, blah, 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 blah. And he's just not giving. Like, he don't want to talk to me. He don't want to this, he don't want to that, he don't want to work shit out. And at this point, I'm fed up. I'm so fed up. I'm like, he really doesn't want to get back together with me. He really just dumped me on my birthday, on my 20th birthday, and he's just done. And I really thought he was. And so I'm still in college at this point. I'm still going to class every day. I'm still going to work 3 days a week. I tell Tim about it. That's where I messed up, is I told Tim about it because I knew Tim liked me, and I knew he was going to try some crap after me and Garrett broke up. But I told Tim, and Tim was just really supportive. He was just like, that just sucks, like, you don't deserve that, blah, 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 blah. But Tim doesn't even know Garrett, and it doesn't even matter. But anyway, fast forward like a month later. Me and Garrett are still talking. You could call us friends with benefits at this point. But we're still talking or whatever. And me and Tim are also talking. And since me and Garrett broke up, I've kind of let Tim... I've kind of gave Tim a little bit more rope. Because when he would flirt with me at first, I'd be like, Tim, you know I have a boyfriend, like, cut it out, blah, blah, blah. But since Garrett broke up with me, I pretty much let Tim say whatever he wanted to me. And one day we were in class and we were split into groups. It's our history class that me and Tim have together. And I got grouped up with this girl that I knew her because we had a class together, but I didn't know her. And so we got grouped up together or whatever, and we were grouped up with like 2 other girls in the class. And the girl that I was talking to, like, kind of more than the other 2 girls, she was older, she was Tim's age, and apparently her and Tim they like grew up together, they had always went to school together. And she was just telling me all this stuff about Tim because she kind of like seen like me and Tim hanging out around school and stuff, blah, 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 blah. And she was like, yeah, girl, I see you hanging out with Tim. He used to have the biggest crush on me in 4th grade, blah, 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 blah. Shit I didn't really care about, but she was like, just be careful because he thinks his shit don't stink and he talks to a lot of girls all at one time. So just, like, be careful. And I was like, okay, like, good to know. Like, little me was just like, I'm not gonna let this girl try and ruin my little thing I have with Tim. And I kind of just blew it off. And the other 2 girls kind of like heard in on the conversation, and they were like, one of them was like, oh my gosh, like, he just texted me last week and I told him like I had a boyfriend, like I wasn't interested. And I was like, last week? Like, we've been talking for like a month now. And I kind of just blew that off too, and I had asked him about it, and Tim got really defensive. And he was like, I don't know what you're talking about, like, you're just being uptight, like, why are you acting like this? I've never seen you like this before, we're not even together, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, okay, you're right, we're not together, you can talk to who you want to, it was just a question, you know? And the very next day, Tim kind of like doesn't talk to me at all. And I don't talk to him because it was just awkward. But he sits next to this girl, another girl in the class. And usually he sits next to me in the class, but he sat next to this other cute blonde that was in the class, and they were talking the entire class. I knew he was just trying to piss me off. Blah, blah, blah. But what really got me is they exchanged numbers at the end of the class. And I seen it. Like, it was obvious what they were doing. They were exchanging numbers. They were both looking at each other's phone. They took each other's phone, put their phone number. Like, you know what exchanging numbers looks like, right? So I called him because they also walked out together. I called him and I was like, are you kidding me, dude? Like, are you kidding me? I know y'all just exchanged information. He was like, what are you talking about? I know her brother, blah, blah, blah. You know, a bunch of BS. And I was like, whatever, dude. Like, you're so full of it. Like, but eventually that ended and we started talking again or whatever. And it goes by, time goes by or whatever. And I get to talking to this girl again, and I kind of tell her what happened. Like, you know, the girl that Tim grew up with since like 4th grade. Well, I'm talking to her, and I kind of tell her what happened. She was like, girl, I told you. He talks to a lot of girls at one time. He did it to me, and he's gonna do it to you too. And I was like, are you sure? Like, he told me, like, he knew her brother or whatever. I told her the excuse that he gave me, and she was like, girl, please don't act so dumb. Like, just stop. I know you're not that dumb, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, dang, like, you may be right. And so I was like kind of on the fence with Tim after that. And I wasn't letting him say all this stuff I was letting him say before. And I don't know, like, and he's seen that. He was always like, what's up with you? Like, you're not the girl I met. Like, blah, 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 blah. I was like, you ain't the boy I met, son. You is not the boy that I met. I didn't know you was talking to all these girls. And at the time, I didn't know he was talking to a lot of girls. I thought he had his hoes. You know what I'm saying? I thought he had his hoes. And I was one of them, you know? But I didn't want to be. I didn't want to be one of his hoes. I was like, if you're gonna have your hoes, then I don't want to be one of them, you know. And he was like, I don't have hoes. Like, you know, I really like you. Blah 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 blah. I want to take this to the next level. And I was like, there ain't no levels to this boy. I don't want to do any of that. I just gotta have a 4-year relationship. No. And anyway, we're in class, in our history class, and we're grouped up again. And me and this girl are talking. The girl, I should name her at this point. The girl he knew or grew up with, the girl Tim knew or grew up with since 4th grade, her name is Jamie. And me and Jamie were talking, and I was telling her what he had told me or whatever, and another girl, not the one before, but another girl was like, oh yeah, me and him text sometimes too. And like, I had to tell him I had a boyfriend too because he was getting flirty with me. And I was like, are you kidding me? Like, at this point, I was like, no. Like, this is crazy. Like, I'm done with this guy. Like, he has got me messed up. He's talking to 3 girls that I know of now. And then I turn around and Jamie's talking to this other girl, this redheaded girl. And Jamie turns back around and talks to me. She was like, you won't believe what the redheaded girl just said. And I was like, what? And she was like, she's talking to Tim too. At this point, it was every single hen in that classroom, baby, that he was talking to. And I was like, I'm about to call him out. In front of everybody. Because I don't know why, but me and Tim, like, weren't talking anymore. Well, I know why. It's because he's a little hoe. But it was just tension between us. Like, we weren't talking. He would look at me and I would catch him looking at me or whatever. But that was it. And I called him out. Because he had heard me talking about him to these girls because I wasn't being quiet about it. I was like, yeah, he's just a hoe. He's talking to every girl in this classroom, being loud as the teacher was like, I could just tell the teacher was so done with me. She was like, okay, let's get back to the topic now. Like, let's stay on topic, guys. And Tim was like, if you have something to say, just say it to my face. And I was like, okay, baby, I will. I stood up and I was like, boy, you was talking to every single woman in this classroom right now, minus the teacher, and that you might just be talking to her too. I was like, that's bull crap how you played us like that, and you should have more respect for women. And he came at me because he was like, oh, but you call me crying, telling me about your boyfriend or whatever, because I would call him very upset sometimes and talk about Garrett. Like, that's a normal thing. I just got out of a 4-year relationship and you want to be a part of that, so you're a part of that. And he was calling me out or whatever, saying I call him crying or whatever. I was like, yeah, because I actually have feelings unlike you. And I get up and I walk my happy butt out that classroom. And yeah, that's when I found out that Tim was talking to every girl in that classroom, including your girl. Your girl got played. Lesson to learn, baby. Know who you're talking to. Don't ignore red flags. And enjoy your life and do not be stuck on these men. Because college was really fun. I'm sad that I'm actually not in college anymore. But I had to make some life decisions, and that just doesn't involve college right now. But life lesson, have fun, do what you want, and don't entertain these men, because that's all you're doing, baby, is entertaining them. But if y'all like this story, please give it a thumbs up. Like this video, like it, it's free, girl. And comment down below and tell me what you think. And yeah, let's try and get to 100 subscribers by the end of the month. I know this is a brand new YouTube channel, but I really want it to grow for you guys. I don't have a lot of girlfriends in Alabama. All my friends are back in Arkansas, and I feel like this is just a really good way where I can let loose, talk to you guys, and just have a good time. But don't forget to like the video and comment down below, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.